Okay, welcome everyone to the webinar. It's 1:02 Mountain Time, and today we'll be discussing helping clients manage tax credits. My name is Stephanie Cote. I am Communications Manager here at First Nations Ouista Corporation. If you have any questions or concerns throughout the webinar, feel free to use the chat function. And here at Ouista, I'm the Communications Manager, so if you have any future webinar requests or any questions or comments regarding the communications here at First Nations Ouista Corporation, please email me at stephanie@ouista.org. I'm happy to hear from you. First Nations Ouista Corporation supports economic growth in Native American communities through the creation, development, and capitalization of community development financial institutions. We believe that when armed with the appropriate resources, Native peoples hold the capacity and ingenuity to ensure the sustainable, economical, spiritual, and cultural well-being of their communities. Does your organization need capital? Ouista considers loan applications on a rolling basis. Our products range from startup loans for emerging loan funds to capital loans for established CDFIs. For more information on our loan products, please contact Emily Trump at emily@ouista.org. Ouista also offers expert training from professionals who have extensive experience in Native community economic development. Our training and technical assistance consists of several programs that not only help participants assess how starting a Native CDFI can benefit their communities, but also takes them step-by-step through the process of establishing one of these proven and innovative financial institutions. So to begin, I'd like to have all of our participants use the question and answer feature of this webinar platform by answering the question, what organization are you representing today? I'll just give you a few moments to find that question and answer section. And throughout the webinar, if you have any questions, feel free to type them in the question and answer section of the box. And I'll be happy to answer as I can, and we will be answering questions throughout the webinar for our presenters. Well, thank you all for joining us. Today we are joined by Henry Thompson, Patsy Schramm, and Roxy Keynes. These individuals have extensive experience in the field of EITC and VITA, and we're very happy to have them join us. So without further ado, I will turn it over to you, Henry.
All right, thank you, Stephanie. Like Stephanie said, my name is Henry Thompson. I work at Chief Don Life College, and I am under the Extension Service Department. Next slide. This is a picture of our office here on campus. I'd like to give you just a little bit of background about where we're at, about our program, where we're located, and about the college. In 1994, tribal colleges received land grant status, and with that came a small amount of money from USDA NIFA, NIFA being the National Institute of Food and Agriculture. At Chief Don Life College, we provide non-formal education, mostly through workshops and training seminars. We also provide direct services to community members on or near the reservation. At the beginning, when funding first came down in 1998, each of the tribal colleges got to pick which discipline under the USDA NIFA program that they wanted to provide programming. And the person that wrote the initial grant for our program thought that we needed to do it under economic development, which is great because there wasn't any economic development going on in our community, and small business development sounded like it would have been a great idea, and it is a great idea. But what we soon discovered is that even though people had an entrepreneur spirit and had excellent business plans, they were unbankable, and that was mainly due to personal credit issues. They either hadn't established credit or they had already had poor credit histories. So we had to take a step back and look at developing programs that were more community development and programs which would strengthen community members' personal health and wealth. Well, this isn't something that we could have done by ourselves. So with the help of some state and national partnerships, we were able to develop a financial education components which were tailored to meet specific needs of clients. So when I say that statement, I'm saying, like, if we were doing a presentation to TANF recipients, we always use Building Native Communities curriculum, but we'd always add or take away items depending on who it was that we were doing the financial education presentations to. For those wanting to start a business, we addressed the credit issue by developing a credit builders program. Once this program was developed, it was moved into a local nonprofit organization called People's Partners for Community Development. And it was also at this time that through these established partnerships, we were able to open our first free tax preparation site. And I just can't stress enough how important it is to have these trustworthy partnerships, because I don't know which communities you come from, but those of us in, could you go next? I don't see any of the data that I had put up there. We're real small. Most of us are rural areas. Like, we have one full-time staff, and that's me. And I'm lucky to have part-time staff on occasion. And then in the summertime, because we do a lot of youth programming, we have summer staff that come in, mostly student interns. Like I had said earlier, we're located on the Northern Cheyenne Reservation. We're a small acre base. It's about 40 miles by 40 miles. The population is 5,000. And at the college, we have, on average, about 300 students. That may go up or down each semester, but that's about an average. And so, like I said, it's really important that you develop these partnerships, because these are things that we couldn't do by ourselves. Go ahead. Okay. In 2006, we opened our VITA site. Our staff and volunteers were really anxious about preparing taxes. All of us felt that tax preparation was for accountants and those professional preparers that did nothing but taxes. We didn't think that we could do this. It was really, really scary. And then the people that were helping us were 6 hours away. Those were our support. They were able to work with us and come to our site, including the IRS. They helped us get our system set up and certified the volunteers that first year. All volunteers are certified at the basic level, and initially that's how we set up. And we were only doing returns that had W-2s and some 1099 income, and that type of income that we were doing were Social Security, retirement, and tribal gaming per cap income. So the first year, our goal was to complete 32 returns, and we opened our doors 2 days a week for 8 weeks. Each year after that, we increased our days and hours and expanded to 2 additional tax sites. We also went out to other communities. Northern Cheyenne borders the Crow Reservation, so we went over there and provided day tax clinics. So we just set up during the day. They were the ones that advertised and brought the clients to us, and we prepared their taxes. The last couple of years, we focused just on the 2 sites, one here at Chieftain Life College and the other at St. Labret. And St. Labret is about 20 miles from us, but it's also a campus that employs about 300 people. So that's a good site to bring in numbers. Each site opened at the end of January of each year, these last few years, and all volunteers were certified as advanced preparers. And that meant that we could start doing business income returns as long as they were still within the scope of the VITA grant. And as you can see on this slide, the first year we I'll go back to the one. We completed 42 electronic returns, and our goal was 32, so we thought we were really, really doing well. In year 2, that's when we expanded to the St. Libre mission, and we completed 132 returns. In the 3rd year, we jumped up to 178. And the previous years, they would never call us back to tell us how much refund, and I never did think to ask for it either, but I can remember coming back from a trip, and I got a phone call, and they told me how many returns we had done and how much dollars we had brought back to the community. And I said, wait a minute, are you correct? I was so shocked that we had brought, because $313,000 is a lot of money. I was really, really shocked that we had brought that much money. But each year as it increased, by the 8th year we had tripled the federal refund dollar amount. It was also the same year that the state of Montana passed legislation to stop predator lending, and the rapid refund sites were slowly dwindling away. So by our 9th year, you can see that we hit well over the $1 million mark, and to date, as of the 18th, for this year, we have completed 485 electronic returns and have brought over $1.4 million back to the community and into the people's pockets. Next. What we also started doing is we would do our traditional flyers and advertising, but what we started doing right away is showing the people, showing the community. We would put flyers out or advertisements in the local newspaper to show the community members by bringing this money back, how they are helping to grow community, and by spending their money local, how the dollar effect can turn over. So I just wanted to share one of our little advertisements. Next. Some of the partners that we have locally and that are helping us do the VITA site are our Chief Doll Knife Financial Savvy Empowerment Program, which is working with student parents in bundled services to help them be successful in school and to manage their tax credits. The other one is People's Partners for Community Development. We have moved most of our financial education program, all of our credit builder, everything into this organization because it's more of a fit. The college, we start them and then we move them out into the community. When we first started the Credit Builders program, we had $10,000 that we had received from First Nations for this program. In 4 years' time, she has been able to, I think she told me last year she did $60,000 in Credit Builder loan programs. And those loan program is anywhere from $500 to $1,000 maximum in order to pay off lenders and to help. And it's credit that's reported to a credit agency that helps build your program. The other thing that we do that's really good for the tax credit is that we have, most of our people were unbankable, and for those that still are unbankable, we offer a U.S. Bank Focus card or a CFR card, and this card allows them to put their money on this debit card. And it's one of the best cards that we have seen that's out there with very few charges. Next. We also, for asset building, we have this screening tool that we use in Montana. It's called Bridges to Benefit. It helps clients learn what federal, state, and tribal programs that they might be eligible for based on their income. And on the left-hand column are just some of the programs that are out there. What we have tried in the past is to add more tribal programs. So when they came into the tax site, they filled out a 13-question questionnaire. Somebody else in our office entered the information, and by the end of their tax appointment, we were able, you can go to the next slide, we were able to tell them what programs that they may have already been receiving to validate that, and also what else that they may be eligible for. Next slide. And so what they would do is start out with, and they're just generic questions on, so no one, it doesn't, anybody can use this, we can do it, but it just gives them kind of an idea. They ask if they're married, and if they're unmarried, are you living with a parent or your children? Is you or your spouse pregnant? Do you have children 23 or under? And then you list how many kids you have. You also list the amount of your income. And then are you a homeowner? And then based on that, it tallies up to, next slide, what they may be eligible for or what they might be interested in. Next slide. This year, Montana State is looking at getting an earned income tax credit. They're trying to implement legislation. We're probably one of the few states that don't provide EITC with the state refund. So we had those that it was optional for folks to fill out the questionnaire what they would use their earned income credit for. And I know that we all want to encourage people to save, but it was, most of the people are still with this earned income credit, as you can see at our site, trying to catch up and pay bills, taking care of child care, groceries. They're still just basically meeting their basic needs or their home needs. And even though we do have some that want to save, we also refer them over to PPCD for the IDA match savings programs and some of the other programs that they have that would help them save or maximize their tax credit. And that's it.
Thank you, Henry. Next is Patsy Schramm.
I am a program consultant for First Nations Development Institute. To give you a little background, I'm a citizen of the Cherokee Nation, and I worked for IRS for many, many years. And when we became a kinder, gentler organization in 2000, we reorganized. And as a senior manager with IRS, I had the opportunity to create what we called a market channel for Native communities. At that time, we could identify less than a half a dozen Native sites that provided VITA and EITC outreach. And by the time I retired, we had inched it up to about 50. And the last count that I saw, we had about 160 sites. And so we've definitely seen growth. I'm very flattered to be included in this and to participate with such expert panelists, and I'm very happy to be with you today. Next slide. I want to tell you a little bit about First Nations Development Institute. It is a national Native-led nonprofit working to strengthen American Indian economies to create healthy Native communities. First Nations invests in and creates innovative institutions and models that strengthen asset control and support economic development for American Indian people. In other words, giving people and communities control over their own assets. And First Nations also manages and funds a range of financial capacity programs that support VITA, financial empowerment, and asset building. And what Henry just talked about was one example. Next slide, please. The document I'm going to be speaking from today is entitled First Tax Time Savings for Native Communities, 10 Best Practices for Effective Native VITA Programs. And there's a link on there to access it. I understand that some of you either listening in or who will be listening to a recording are interested in starting with EITC and VITA. And in part that I won't cover today, there are lots and lots of good tips from very successful VITA sites on how to start, develop, and strengthen EITC and VITA programs. Next slide, please. This document was created from surveying 5 successful Native VITA sites: Akwesasne Housing, the College of the Menominee Nation, Lakota Fund, Native Community Finance, and White Earth Investment Initiative. And each one of those had very good contributions to make. Next slide, please. In this document, there are many different approaches shared, but we also found common themes There were recruitment ideas for volunteers, marketing strategies, fundraising resources, and just a whole lot more. So if you are interested in starting or if you're already involved, I do encourage you to go to that site and access this document. Next slide, please. Regarding refunds, what was a common theme was that filing season offers a great opportunity to educate clients about other asset building opportunities. One was tax time savings bonds, and I understand that there may be some changes with that program that will actually benefit clients, but they haven't been made yet, so I'm not gonna share those. Opening bank accounts, as Henry mentioned, and also, as Henry mentioned, offering low or no fee debit cards. And then some sites, as Henry said, link their clients to financial education programs, credit counseling, social service benefits, and programs like IDAs and entrepreneurship training. Next slide. I had to share this one because it's a creative example of integrated asset building. This was in 2008, the winning poster from a 7th grade class, and all of these drawings were made into a calendar. So the best were selected to make 12 pages of a calendar, and as you can see, the theme was take your native pride and save your money. So next slide, please. Other examples that are in this document, Native Community Finance reported that tax time is the perfect time to help reach out to low and moderate income community members and help them learn about additional services. And then White Earth Investment Initiative one year there was a special grant program through a nonprofit that they worked with to offer a free loan against the tax refund, and that created an alternative to the expensive RALs or refund anticipation loans that tax filers can access through paid preparers. So that's also something to look for. It does require funding, and sometimes banks will work with people to do that. Next slide. So in conclusion, what I would say is that helping your clients manage their tax credits is limited only by your imagination and your resources. Now, I realize resources is a big if, but if your organization doesn't offer other asset building programs, you may be able to find others in your community that are eager to work with you because you'll have a common goal. And we have an emerging resource, which is the Taxpayer Opportunity Network, or TON. It's a part of CFED. It used to be called NCTC, National Tax Community. I've forgotten all of it because it's past, but they had developed a wealth of resources, and CFED was able to transfer those resources and to add to those on their website. And I would stress here, membership is free, and here's a link to join that. And they'll send out throughout the filing season different tips. They have training that is certified by IRS in lieu of IRS training. They're working very closely with IRS on the planned migration away from TaxWise as the software provider. And so this is just an excellent resource, both for existing VITA sites and for those who want to start up. Next slide. So in conclusion, I would say WADO, that's Cherokee for thank you. And if you have questions for me later, you can reach me at either the email address that I provided or the phone number. One thing that I would add is that I maintain, this is kind of my way of volunteering, I maintain a mailing list of Native sites, and periodically as things come to my attention that I think would be of benefit to VitaSite, I will send those out on a mailing list. So if you would like to get those emails, it is by email, then you can send me an email with a title that's something like, please add me to your mailing list, and I will. So I thank you.
Thank you, Patsy. And next we have Roxy.
Hi, everyone. Thank you again for tuning in to today's webinar. I work with the Get It Back campaign, which is a project of the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities. For more than 25 years, this campaign has focused on helping to promote the Earned Income Tax Credit, the Child Tax Credit, and free tax filing assistance. Our approach to this outreach is to focus on partnerships and help develop organizations and institutions that come in contact with people who are eligible for the tax credits and aren't claiming them. So we provide resources and help facilitate those partnerships to help more people actually claim the credits. So the Earned Income Tax Credit and VITA represent a wonderful opportunity. The EITC presents a huge opportunity for people to save because at this time, people have more money than any other time in the year. And for some people, this can be up to 40% of their total earnings. VITA helps people keep more of their EITC dollars. And in 2015, VitaSites helped more than 3.3 million taxpayers get more than $3.98 billion in tax refunds. This included 734,000 people who claimed the EITC, and they received EITCs worth $1.13 billion. So the EITC and VITA are very critical, and this is why we want to look at ways to maximize this opportunity. We heard earlier from Henry about some ways that people plan to use their refunds in her community. Recently, there was a survey put out by the National Retail Federation, and they surveyed people and asked them, how do you plan to use your tax refunds? So this is before they actually filed their taxes. And the survey found that 49% of respondents plan to use their refund for emergencies, and 35% intended to pay down debt. So this is an increase in people actually planning to use their refund for savings. As was mentioned earlier, there are a lot of people who still need to tend to the immediate needs. And other research has confirmed that using a tax refund to pay bills and pay down debt are popular uses of a tax refund, and still there is a desire among people to save money. So the tax refund moment, what is the tax refund moment? The tax refund moment is a chance to dream and think big about one's future. Many taxpayers have their refund spent before they set foot into a VitaSite. They know about the bills that still need to be paid. They know about any repairs that have been left unattended to because the money is not there. Yet the tax refund presents an opportunity to explore and think a little bit beyond those immediate pressing needs, and think about how part of the refund can be used to help cover gaps throughout the year before the next tax season. So there doesn't have to be this long waiting and anticipation for the next tax season and that tax refund. So how can you help taxpayers open up to exploring this opportunity? The key is conversation. Talking about tax refund options. So there are three primary opportunities to actually have the conversation. It could be before tax season, during tax season, or after. The approach of the conversation will vary a little bit depending on the timing. I think for many people, having it during or after is what takes place. And you may find that you only get to start the conversation if it's during actual tax filing. Here are a few tips on how to have the conversation, of things that can help with the conversation. Number one is to make it fun and engaging. So talking about money can be a heavy topic for some people, and asking questions that allow clients to think big and think comfortably about their finances and about their dreams for their finances is helpful. Number two, keep the conversation focused on the client's goals. So this is important. Rather than telling them or discussing what their priorities should be, allow the client to define what is important to them. Tip number three is to uncover the big picture. So perhaps someone says that they are looking to use their refund to spend on their car. And so uncovering the big picture would help to reveal that maybe some of the a refund could be used to invest into a better car, so that all of these so that reoccurring car repairs are no longer a concern. Step four is to encourage small steps. So saving can take place in different forms, and for some people there will need to be an opportunity to shift the mindset around savings. And so actually opening up a savings account is a very big step for some people. Some people need to warm up to that. So encouraging small steps may be encouraging someone to just save some change after they make purchases, and starting there, even if they aren't putting it in a savings account, starting the habit of savings is important. And step number five is to provide options. So I will be sharing some options. We've heard about some options and methods of savings already, and I'm going to share a few more shortly. So the conversation around opportunities to save and investing, there have been some experiments that have been done that explored this a little bit, and one is called Refunds to Savings. Refunds to Savings is a tax time savings experiment that was conducted from 2011 to 2013 through a collaboration with the Center for Social Development at Washington University, along with Duke University and Intuit Incorporated. And Intuit is the producer of the online tax software TurboTax. And with this savings pilot, they explored incorporating different motivational messages about savings in the tax filing process. So this is really when someone is doing their taxes on their own. The different types of motivational messages included messages around emergencies, goals, retirement, family, and future. So we'll take a look at some examples of these messages, and it will provide an opportunity to think about how you may apply and adapt some of these approaches for the clients and communities that you work with. So the emergencies message was, would you like to save for a rainy day? Everyone has unexpected costs throughout the year. Why not put some of your refund away in case of medical expenses, car or home repair, or loss of income? The goals message was, want to save a little for something special? Maybe you're thinking of saving for a new home, your children's education, or a vacation. Or maybe you just want a little extra in the bank. So these are examples of some messages to open up the window for thinking about savings. A few more examples. Next we have for retirement. Would you like to save a little money for your retirement? It never hurts to put a little away for retirement security. Get peace of mind that you've got enough in your nest egg. And the message for family. Have a family or thinking of starting one? Start building a bright future for them. And finally, we have 2 examples of messages for the future. Save for your future and get peace of mind. Feel more secure about your future with a little extra money in the bank. And the second one, why not save a little money? You can split your federal refund into a savings account or get a U.S. Series 1 savings bond. So here you can see with that message, it's planting the seed for one of the savings opportunities that we've heard a little bit about. So now let's talk about other savings and investment opportunities. I'm going to mention 10. The first few I think we've heard about already. Number 1, bank accounts, including checking and savings. 2, savings bonds. 3, IDA programs. 4, car purchase programs. 5, home ownership programs. 6, computer purchase. 7 is lending circles. Lending circles are an opportunity to pull together a group of people, and each person contributes a certain amount of money to the group. Each month, one member of that group will have an opportunity to collect the whole sum of money contributed. And so this is an opportunity that can also help for people who may have situations where they're seeking loans. Instead of going out and getting a loan with interest, lending circles serve an opportunity for people to receive that money that they need and apply it, and then it's paid back because everyone in the circle will have an opportunity to that same pool of money. There are some groups that have started incorporating an element to have those payments reported so that someone can build and establish a credit history as well. Number 8 is America Saves, which is a group that promotes savings. There are local chapters. There are lots of resources that people can use, and they have lots of tips and different ways to think about savings. Number 9 is financial education classes. There are the traditional methods that focus on teaching about budgeting and developing a more of a foundation and background in financial education. And then there are those with a hands-on element. And what that means is there's an opportunity to take an amount of money. Let's say someone takes $10 from their refund or $20 from their tax refund, and they go through the financial education class, and by the end of the class, that amount that they've started with has had an opportunity to grow because they explore different ways that they can use to make it grow, whether that's in a savings account or in the IDA program or some other program. And number 10 is savings habit development. So this is an opportunity where it doesn't even involve connecting to another program or another group necessarily. There are different ways to save creative, and especially if someone is concerned about not having enough money and just not having the resources because there are so many other immediate needs. So a few different ways that developing the savings habit can take place. One includes just committing to saving something. So whether it is a few pennies or just $1, setting an amount and saving that amount regularly. So it could be 1 month, it could be every other week, whatever a person feels comfortable with, starting to commit and developing that savings habit. Another approach is to round up to save. So when it's time to make a purchase, if the amount is, say, it's $10.73, then that remaining amount you round up and place that amount into a savings, or you can round down. Some people like to round down. And another approach is a 52-week savings challenge. And this approach has someone save a certain amount, either starting from $1 or starting from $52, and each week saving either increasing $1 the first week, $2 the next week, etc., or starting and decreasing $52 the first week, $51 the next week. And the decreasing approach, starting from tax time, is a great opportunity because people have more money to work with then. By the end of the year, with this approach, a person can save over $1,000. And so this is something that may be of interest and may be an opportunity for some clients. So next we'll look at a few examples of organizations that do incorporate some of these things. First, we have the Native American Youth and Family Center in Portland, Oregon. They offer many services, including IDAs, free tax assistance, they have a micro-enterprise program, and they have financial wellness classes. For their financial wellness classes, they use the First Nation Development Institute's curriculum. And so these are programs that they implement year-round and provide an opportunity to connect clients at tax time. They can connect them to some of these other programs. Next, we have Prepare and Prosper, which is in St. Paul, Minnesota, and they offer many tax time services. They offer savings accounts. They have the MyRA retirement account that they promote. They promote U.S. savings bonds, prepaid debit cards. They offer free credit reports for clients and will help them understand what's on the report, and they can connect clients to financial counselors, and so financial counselors can help explore opportunities to reduce debt or address other concerns. They also have a year-round Money Mentors financial coaching program. And financial coaching is a field that is centered on the client's goals. So that was one of the tips I shared with having the conversation. It's centered on the client's goals, and the client really drives the process. And so it's different from financial education classes in that there's not necessarily a set curriculum. And so this approach may be something that can be useful in some communities. So I'd like to close with a few resources. On this slide, you can see several resources. The first one is the link to the campaign that I work with, the Get It Back campaign. And this link specifically has information on tools to save. Some of them I shared talking about savings and investment opportunities. There's also links to information on outreach opportunities, including how to start or integrate an asset building program into your work, whether you want to do a financial education program or just connect people to tools. There's also information on helping workers use secure and safe financial services and products. Here's a link to MyRA. Change Machine is a platform that can be used to help with financial coaching specifically. The Brookings Institution has an EITC Interactive that will allow you to learn more about EITC claims in your community. So whether you want to look at the state or counties, and there are a total of 8 options, that is helpful if you aren't already aware of what does the picture look like in your community in terms of EITC claims. And finally, the last link is to the 2015 IRS VITA data. Initially, I shared national data, and if you go to that link, you can find data for your state. So with that, I do invite you to stay connected to the Get It Back campaign. Here's how you can find us online, our blog, Facebook, and then if you'd like to receive email updates from us, we periodically send messages with resources related to outreach, tools, and information. And if you have any questions, you can email us at this email. So thank you.
Thank you, Roxy. Next, I'd like to open the floor up for questions, and we already have one. Do your clients utilize the tax saver credit for participating in a 401k or 403b retirement plan? Most tribes offer a plan with a matching feature. I think that may have been directed to all of you. Would anyone be able to speak on that?
This is Patsy, and I'm sorry that I can't.
Hi, this is Henry. As far the tribe here doesn't offer that match savings program, but I do know that those that are employed with companies, we're next to a coal mining place, and those tribal members do participate in that match savings program when offered, but we don't currently have one with the tribe or the college.
And this is Roxy. I did just want to share that there are some groups that do promote the Savers Credit along with other aspects of their tax time services, so that certainly is an option. I don't have a specific organization right now that I can share that does that. However, if someone wants to follow up with me, I may be able to connect them to a group.
Okay, great. Thank you. Were there any other questions out there? Feel free to raise your hand or use the question and answer feature to type in a question if you have one. I just have one question for Henry. How do you recruit volunteers for your VITA site? Is there any specific messaging, or do you find a lot of volunteers through the college?
We utilize students. We do recruit students. We don't get very many of them because they're not real comfortable, but this year we had 2, and we usually use the students for greeters, so we do have 1 student that is certified at advanced. The main way that the volunteers that we have now are the volunteers that we got initially, and they come back. They're people that work at the BIA, that have other jobs, and they do the evening ones. We have a volunteer from each one of our partners that come and do taxes too, and that's part of their, they're paid their salary, but they come during their time to volunteer to do the taxes. It's not part of their regular job, but they do come in during their time at work and do taxes. But initially we advertised.
This is Patsy, and I'll add that in the document that I referenced, there is a segment on recruiting and retaining volunteers.
Okay, great. Kathleen has a question. I'm going to unmute you to expand. It was a question around IDAs. Kathleen, if you wanted to speak, you're unmuted. I guess I'll pose the question to the panel. She was asking about IDA accounts. On that, IDA accounts. She asked, where would she be able to find IDA accounts in Wisconsin specifically? Do you know of any IDA assistance programs or
This is Roxy, and we have on our website a link to a resource from CFED that has a locator for IDA programs. So you can either go search for it on cfed.org, or if you use that link that's on the slide that talks about the savings and investment opportunities, you can find it that way too.
Perfect. And we have another question. Do you see individual refund amounts going down from year to year with increased management of payroll deductions to control more funds throughout the year?
Can you repeat the question, please?
So it says, do you see individual refund amounts going down from year to year with the increased management of payroll deductions?
This is Henry. Usually it's about the same amount. And, when they do come in and they question, we do talk to them about when they fill out the W-4 on how many exemptions that they're taking and how that is a way to, maybe if their goal is to get more at the end so that they can save, or if they are having a hard time making ends meet, how, you can put, no more than what you have that you claim so you don't end up owing. So it does fluctuate, but it's not really a whole lot.
Okay, great. And
this is Roxy. I just want to say that could actually be another opportunity to have a conversation. And some people, there's been some research and surveying informally as well that many people really like the idea of getting a large refund. And there is this opportunity to have a conversation around making adjustments. And if you are having less taken out of your paychecks throughout the year, then you have more money to apply instead of having to wait for this larger refund and then spend it to catch up on bills.
Okay, great. We have a little bit of time for any last questions or comments. Okay.
The thing I'll insert is Roxy could probably this information, but as far as the amount of the EITC refund from the IRS, that amount has increased almost every year. It's prorated by number of children and so forth, but we see increasing EITC refund eligibility with almost every year. Am I right, Roxy?
Yes, the EITC is adjusted for inflation each year, so the value of it does increase, and the eligible population, it shifts and varies every year. So there is a fluctuation in the number of people who actually claim it, who are eligible for that particular year.
Okay, great. Just to remind everyone to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and subscribe to our news. Our next webinar will be April 19th at 1 p.m. Mountain Time, Financial Education Class Retention. Registration can be found at owista.org/events. And I just wanted to thank everyone for joining us today. I will be sending out a follow-up email with additional resources and a recording of today's webinar. And I want to thank all the presenters, Henry, Patsy, and Roxy, so much for sharing your information with us. We greatly appreciate you sharing all the knowledge with the community. And if you have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to us. I will be sharing that information in the follow-up email as well. And have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.